Hello everyone on LesterBenix.com. I'm Daniel Brodesky and welcome to my new tutorial. Let's first have a look at the preview of what we are going to be creating today. So to create this, we are going to use particular inside of After Effects. With no further delay, let's create a new composition, Ctrl-N on the keyboard, and I'm going to be working in 1280 by 720, 25 frames per second, 5 seconds long, black background, and I'm going to call it main and click OK. Inside of this composition, I'm going to create a new text layer, so select my text tool and simply type hey. I'm going to be using the learning curve font, which is this continuous handwritten font. You can find this font for free online, just type this name. Okay, so let's enter the text. I'm using the reposition anchor point tool to do this. Simply centering the anchor point and then centering the text, clicking Ctrl Home. Let's create a new solid, Ctrl Y on the keyboard, and I'm going to call it mask. Click OK, make sure that the solid is comp size. Now I'm going to make it invisible by simply clicking once on this eyeball. And with this solid still selected, I'm going to select my pen tool or just click G on the keyboard and start tracing my text layer using the pen tool. So simply create your vertices, extending your mask as needed, controlling it with these handles, and make sure you go over the whole board. I'm going to speed up this part just a little bit and come back when I'm done. So that's it. Here is the word traced with the pen tool. And what I'm going to do now is create a new solid, Ctrl Y on the keyboard, and this one is going to be called particular. And I'm going to add the particular effect to it, and I'm using the FD toolbar. You can get it on ascripts.com. Simply add the particular effect. And now I'm going to enable the mask layer and create a new light, Ctrl Alt Shift L on the keyboard. Make sure that the light is called emitter, exactly as I wrote it, and I'm going to make it a point light and click OK. With the light still selected, click P to reveal its position property, and now select the mask layer and click M to reveal the mask. I'm going to select the mask path and simply click Ctrl C to copy. Go to the position, select the position property and click Ctrl V to paste. And you should end up with multiple keyframes stretched over 2 seconds going over the mask path. So now again we can make the mask layer invisible as well as the text layer itself. Just go into the particular layer and opening the emitter section. Emitter type, instead of point we want it to be lights. And right away, when scrubbing through the timeline, we can see that the particles are emitted from the light, going according to the path we just traced. I want to zero all of these parameters from the velocity down, so simply go ahead and zero all of them. I don't want my particles to be spreading to every direction. And so now we have something that looks like this. Not very good looking, so in order to make it smoother, we are going to the position subframe, and instead of linear choose 10 times smooth, and basically it is going to create this very nice smooth curve as we traced it. And now I'm going to increase the particles count, basically the particles per second, from 100 to 500. And now we have no gaps. That's great. We can go ahead and close the emitter section and open the particle section. First of all, I want to decrease the sphere feather, and now I want to make the life shorter, like 0.1 seconds. So we have only this short line flying around. And now let's open the size over life and choose this little decreasing pattern. Now we are going to close the particle section and go into the auxiliary system, open it up. We have our emit set to off. We are going to change it to continuously. and now we have particles being continuously emitted. First of all, I don't like this rainbow coloring, so I'm going to increase the color from main, and it is measured in percents. So when I'm at 100, it basically says that it is 100% the same color as the main, which is white. I'm also going to increase the opacity. I don't want it to be half transparent, and decrease the feather to 0. Now I'm going to increase the life to like 5 seconds, which is the length of my comp. The reason we are using the auxiliary system is to create a nice effect of thinning over time. So I'm going to set the size of the auxiliary system to be like 3 and not 5. And over here you have the light going over the text, and you can see how it looks that this end is sort of fatter than the rest of the particles. So I'm also going to open the size over life in the auxiliary system and draw a curve like this, and so it basically becomes thin over time. So that's the reason for using the auxiliary system. You can go ahead, increase maybe the size of the particles in the particle section, maybe to 6, to create a more drastic effect. I'm going to put the color from main back to 0 and open the color over life section in the auxiliary system and choose this blue pattern. And I'm going to change this third color key to be a little bit brighter. And so we have it going from white to some bright blue. That's a good time to save your project and go ahead and create a new light. I'm going to click Ctrl-Alt-Shift-L to create this new light and make sure I'm using a spotlight. The name doesn't matter, and we just click OK. Now, going back to the particular layer, I'm going to open the shading section and turn on the shading, as well as turn on the shadowlet from main and from the auxiliary system. Now we want to create some overlaps in our text. You will see in a second exactly what I mean when you see the effect in action. And go to this drop-down menu over here, and instead of one view, I want to have 2 views. One of them is going to be my active camera, or the front, and the second one is going to be the top. Now let's select our emitter light, click U to reveal the keyframes, and simply using these little arrows, I'm going to scrub through the animation. So click once to go to the next keyframe and keep going like this till we find the spot where we want our text to overlap itself. Something like here. As you can see, we have our path overlapping itself, and I want this little line to be in front of the longer one. So I'm going to select the light and basically push it forwards and keep going like this. Again, I want over here this line to be a little bit in front. And it is going to be seen using the shadows that we have just enabled. You'll see it in a second. Just keep going, pushing your light to the front or to the back, as you wish. Okay, so I suppose we are done with this. Let's switch back to one view. And when zooming in here, we can see that this little line casts shadows over this line, which creates this very nice overlapping feeling. So that's basically what I was going for, and it just adds another dimension to our animation, a very nice sense to it. Go ahead and play with the shading settings. I'm going to open the shadowlet settings and maybe increase the opacity from 5 to like 10. And now we have our shadows much darker. I'm also going to increase the diffuse to like 200 to make everything a little bit brighter. If you don't want the emitter to be illuminating your particles, you can simply switch it off and the path will be still drawn. Okay, so that's good. I'm going to close the shading section now and open the emitter section. With my timeline cursor placed at the 2 seconds mark, I'm going to set a keyframe for the particles per second. And now I'm going to jump back like 10 frames. With the particular layer still selected, click U to reveal the keyframes and set another keyframe. Now going to the second one and simply zero it. So you have 0 particles over here. And you get these little dots. Don't worry about them. It just adds some nice look if you like. If you don't want to have these dots, just bring these keyframes closer. And if you still see them, go ahead to your auxiliary system and increase the particles per second from 10 to, let's say, 15. And these dots are gone. In case the problem remains, you can go to Edit, Purge, and purge all the memory. So what After Effects has just cached will be erased and the new settings will be applied. I hope that this tutorial is useful for you and you will find some new uses for the particular effect. If you have any questions, please let me know, ask them in the comments. Check out the other tutorials on lesterbanks.com. Stay tuned for more. I'm Daniel Brodesky and I will see you next time.